let me count down here and we'll get started. Clear my throat. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Back to Bits podcast. My name is John Meadows. With me, as always, is D-Pad Danny. What's going on, guys? Guys or whoever.
Good sir.
Good sir. Hello, good sir. It's only been, let's see, October. What was the last time? I can't even remember the last time we recorded.
It's been a couple months. Holidays
it has
go
been.
And busy time, all that good stuff.
Well, it was holidays, and then I was working out of town for so many, and then you were going out of town for the holiday, and I was going out of town for the holiday, so it's just like it was just no time. But that's okay. We never promise a on-time show anymore, so it's okay. Right. We do it when we have time, and we have time right now because we're all snowed in. So
indeed.
Which I meant to ask you, did they open up your work today? Did you get to go into work, or did you?
I've been working from home since Wednesday.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
It's a blessing and a curse because while I'm seeing pictures posted on social media of everyone out playing with their kids doing the snow day stuff, I'm still inside working hard. Well. As long as they got the internet.
Yeah, well, yeah. That's cool. Excuse me, that's cool though. I mean, at least you have the option to stay home and still get paid. And get work done. It's not like you're falling behind. Unlike me, who when it snows and I can't get out, I just don't get paid. But
that's one way to go,
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. My wife, I said it last night on the main podcast, is the wife she's been to school, I think, 3 times since the first of the year. Maybe twice that I can remember. That's how much snow we've had, so that's all right. They'll just go to school till July.
Right.
I don't care.
Enjoy your 1 month of summer.
Yeah, enjoy it. Enjoy July to August, and that's all you're going to get. So. But yeah, anyway, so we just thought we would try to do at least another bi-weekly show, depending on how things go. And it's been a while since we've recorded, so it's like, okay, well, let's it's almost the end of January. Let's throw out a new podcast.
Yeah.
So, Danny, have you picked up anything cool lately, or been playing anything cool?
As far as playing, just a variety of stuff. Just I started a new save file in Secret of Mana, so I've been playing through that one.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's a good one. As far as pickups, I recently got a hold of a Sega CD Model 1. I've been after one for a while. Yeah. So I think it's the last Sega console I needed, other than like pre-Master System computer style systems that they had put out.
Yeah, that's cool. I love the Model 1. I don't know if I've said it on here or not, but the Model 1 that's the one I like to use the most.
Right.
Just because with the Genesis one and the Model 1 underneath of it, that is so like 1993 that I just can't stand it. I love it so much.
Right.
And I like the music, the boot up music for that one too. I think that one's better than the Model 2. So.
Yeah, well, see, I got it because I lack space. My game room is very small, and I lack countertop style space. So this one was a lot more form fitting for my setup.
Yeah,
than the Model 2 that sits to the side.
I know the Model 1s have a high failure rate, but it's usually something simple. The Model 2s have a pretty high failure rate too, and it's usually just a fuse on it. So I mean, each of them have their own little quirk, but. The Model 1, there's something I like with the little flashing green and red lights on the front of it.
It's snazzy.
So cool. Yeah, it's just so cool.
And, and when you have the 32X as well, and you got the trifecta, it's almost worth the fact that you need 3 brick power plugs to power the whole thing.
Well, and that's why I recommend that one adapter that I have. I use it all the time because I can connect the 32X, the Sega CD, and the Genesis all with one power supply with 3 different plugs, and it works just fine.
You need to send me a link for that if you can dig it up.
You know what? I can actually reach back behind me and get it here in a few because it's actually I need to say the name of it and I can't remember. It's a guy over in I want to say he was over in Egypt that makes them. I mean, they're handmade.
Sure.
But, I mean, it works fine. I use it it works on every system I have except for a Super Nintendo. It doesn't have a Super Nintendo plug on it. Other than that, I use it for my top loader, my PC Engine, my all my Sega stuff. Of course, they all have about the same plug on them anyway. But yeah,
Right.
the Model One is still my favorite. I got one 2 years ago at a yard sale. The guy had it. He wanted like $25 for it or $20 for it. He's like, I don't even know if it works. He said, I don't have everything to hook it up with. And I'm like, well, I'll give you 10, because I really didn't care if it worked or not, because I just
Sure.
wanted it to have. And he was like, okay, yeah, and it worked just fine, and it actually had slip heat in it. It was like,
You still feed?
yeah, soul feed. Yeah, he didn't even
Okay.
know it was, didn't even know that game was in there, and he'd had it for years and never even
Well, sure. I mean,
turned it
if you
on.
don't have any way to like use it, you're not going to be able to open it unless you pry the thing open.
Yeah.
It's just to see if there's something in it, and you've broken it at that point.
Well, and it had been so long since I'd used a Model One CD that I couldn't even remember how to eject anything on it. It was like, oh my gosh, how do I open this? That was the one that the local video store had for rent here, so they only had one. So when we got out of school, we were in junior high school. When we got out of school, we all had to race to the video rental store so I can grab the one for the weekend. I think it was like $15 to rent for the weekend or something like that.
Sure.
And I think I got $25 a week allowance or something like that. So I would walk home from the high school or walk home from the junior high to home, and I would pass the video store on the way. So while everybody else was riding the school bus and their parents were picking them up, I was already at the video store picking up the thing, and then everybody would come over to my house because I rented it and they didn't get a chance to. So.
That's how it usually goes.
Yeah, I loved that thing though. I loved it. But you're right, boy. When you have the Tower of Power and you have 3 big old bricks on that thing,
It's a hog, man. It really is.
It's a fire hazard waiting to happen. It really is.
Yeah.
That's what it makes me think of. It's I used to have it was an extension cord that just had 3 plugs in it that they all fit in, and I don't leave those things plugged up anyway because I'm always afraid of those transformers going bad. And
Sure.
you've got 25-year-old transformers plugged in the wall. It's like even turned off, those things still draw a little bit of power and they stay warm. And it's like, man, I can just see a cap going bad in it, and just feeding back through the machine, and then the machine dies or something like that. So, but yeah, that's cool. I'm glad you got one. Like I said, I love the Model Ones. They are my favorite. The Tower of Power is my favorite setup. So.
Right. I've been after one for a while too, so
Yeah.
pretty stoked about
Now,
that.
you had a Model 2 anyway, right? So you probably had some
No.
games.
Nope. This is the first Sega CD I've
okay.
ever owned.
I thought you
I
had
did
a
have
Model
one
2.
game though. I had Space Ace because I just bought the system.
Yeah.
I remember Pat the NES Punk did a DVD thing where you could pre-order, and one of the tiers was he'd send you 10 random games
Yeah.
and a signed copy of the DVD. And so I signed up for that one, and one of them was Space Ace. And I was like, I don't have a Sega CD. I've had it. I don't know what I'm going to do with this, and I've had it for like 3 years or something. And so I was able to test the Sega CD when I bought it. So I'm glad for that.
Well, the one thing is with the Sega CD is there's no copyright protection on it. So
I know. That's the same with the Dreamcast as well, and the Saturn if you have an action replay.
Yeah, well, that the thing with the Saturn and the Dreamcast is they didn't have the. I mean, you couldn't put a game in and rip well, you could, but you had to use a program to do it. The Sega CDs,
Right.
you could just rip them straight off because they had. Back at those days, nobody had CD burners, so they didn't even bother to put copyright protection in them, which cracks me up because some of those more expensive, super hard to find games like Lords of Thunder and Lunar and stuff like that. It's like
Right.
I technically only own one Sega CD game, and it's Batman and Robin, The Adventures of Batman and Robin.
Oh, that's the driving one, isn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's a cool game. I like it.
I've heard it's good but really difficult.
It is. It's very hard, but the animation's cool because it plays out like an episode of the show, the
Right.
cartoon. So it's almost like a episode that you never see on TV. But I enjoy it. I like it a lot. But I think the Batman Returns is one of my favorite games on the Sega CD. I love that
Is it?
game because it has driving and it has platforming on it.
Right.
That was the one I remember playing the most of, though. and just some of those anime games with the Snatcher is really good. But it's a $200 game. I mean, it's just
Well, I mean, no, you're going to pay more than $200 for disc only of that game.
yeah, and it's just so expensive. It's like as much as I would love to have it, I just want to play it. I just want to play the game. Someday if I ever bump into it or have the money to buy it, sure I'll buy it. But I'm all right with playing a copied version of it. I'm fine with that. But yeah, the Sega CD, it rocks. So, and what's the other game? Is there another game that you got for it or?
Oh yeah, one of my buddies sent me a copy of BC Racers. It's a kart racer,
Yeah.
but it almost plays more like Road Rash because you don't really pick up weapons. You have a right kick and a left kick to kick your fellow motorists as you pass, and it's pretty much in the theme of it's Chuck Rock basically. It's a spin-off of Chuck Rock, so it's caveman themed and it's him and all his buddies. It's actually pretty cool. It's not a bad game.
I never heard of that one. Okay.
Yeah. And recently I also got a copy of Newtopia for TurboGrafx 16. I don't know if you're familiar with that one at all.
No, and I have you sent me a picture of it. I'm like, that looks cool. Is that a TurboGrafx game? I never really heard of it, and I have,
right.
I have an EverDrive, but I've yet to play every single game on it. So,
well, sure.
Of course, So what's it about? What kind of game is it?
It's pretty much a Zelda clone. It's a top-down dungeon crawler, and that it looks and feels like Zelda.
Huh.
It's got the TurboGrafx feel though. Not a lot of blended colors, a lot of bright solids and stuff that go together. So it seems really cool, and the hit detection's kind of wonky, but I tested it out and beat the first dungeon, and I was like, I would really like to revisit this one, so I'll have to play that one through in its entirety at some point soon. But yeah, it's a pretty fun game.
That's cool, and I guess it uses like password because password
it does.
saves. Yeah, that's the one bad thing about the TurboGrafx. There was no battery backup on anything,
right?
So. But yeah, I was gonna say. Probably password stuff. Well, that's cool. I don't. You just don't around here anyway. You just don't see a lot of TurboGrafx games.
No, here either. That was a straight up eBay buy. I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah, I just anymore. If I go to a retro shop, I might buy one or two games there. But a lot of times anymore, the games I try to get are like on Craigslist or Let Go or something like that. I try to get them as cheap as I can, and TurboGrafx is one that I just never see. I think I've seen one TurboGrafx system one time, and it was in the box, and they wanted some outrageous price for it, and I was just like, no. I did see an Omega 32 the other day CD system, which was kind of odd to see here. I'm like, that wasn't even released in America. That went like $500.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one.
I'm like, nope. Not paying $500 for it. You can buy them on eBay for half of that. It's as far as I know, he's still sitting on it. So nobody knows what it is. I've picked up a few games over the past couple months. I've picked up way more than what I've got listed here, but I figure I saved some of them. I picked up a copy of Turtles in Time for the Super NES.
It was such a good game.
Yeah, I think I got it off the buddy that I've done a couple trades with. I think I got it for. I only paid like $25 for it or something like that.
That's a really good price for that game now.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. That's the one. Well, I say that's the one Turtle game. I was missing Turtles 3 on the NES, but that's one of the ones I was missing. So I was happy to have that. Another one I got for super cheap. It was Super Turrican. I love the Turrican games. I played the Genesis version. I didn't even realize that there was one on the Super NES until it popped up on Let Go, and I think I bought it for like $20.
I like that little giddy chuckle that you did. I got it for a really good price.
I did. I got it for a really good price. It's like I've said in the other episodes. Gunnack, I paid $25 for that game, and then my wife wanted over the holidays, my wife wanted a Switch, so I literally sold it for $200, and I went and bought her a Switch with the money for it. So Gunnack almost paid for my Switch.
You get such stupid luck.
Yeah, I really do. This last year, I mean, if I sit down, and I didn't, if 2017 was probably one of the best years of game pickups that I have done in a while, and I've got a couple other ones on the back burner yet that I haven't finished taking care of yet, but maybe this weekend we'll have it. But yeah, that I really like the Super Turrican. I really want it on the Genesis too because I like that version of the game. I played it on my EverDrive on the Genesis, and I really enjoyed it. And it's a Factor 5 game, which is really cool too. I had no idea. I remember Turrican, but I don't remember. I never remembered Super Turrican. So once I saw that, I was like, "Yep, I got to have it." Also got Abinox. I just picked it up on a whim. I didn't have that one. And of course, it's a shooter. I think I bought it.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I liked it. I like it.
It's really hard though. I can't get past the second level. You die and you lose all your power ups in that one, and you're screwed.
Yeah, and that's what's bad about it. But yeah, I picked it up on a whim when I was out in Columbus. Doing stuff, doing some work. And then I bumped into, or I found a deal on Let Go. I got Kirby's Adventure, Willow. I don't know how to say it. Archisist's Ring. I'm not really
Archista, maybe.
I don't. And that's the game that I bought the whole lot of them for because I'd never heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's one I don't have.
Yeah, it was, and I think I sent you a message before I bought it. I'm like, hey, have you ever heard of this game?
Like, yeah, I've seen it, but I don't know what it's about.
Yeah, and honestly, it's almost like a Zelda clone too. It's an action adventure game. It's just a single player. It's not really an RPG so much as it's just action adventure, but it's that top down like Zelda. So you're shooting, you're walking around, you got a sword, and you're throwing things, or a shield that you're blocking stuff and things like that. So it's a neat little game. What a little bit of it I've played, it seems pretty fun. Kind of different, but you can almost call it a top down shooter. But. Let's see. And the other one that I got was one that I had totally never heard of. The Magic of... How do you pronounce it?
Yeah. What was that one, John?
Yeah, Scheherazade. Every time that I would message you, the name of the game, I'd just put, that Magic of But yeah, I'd never heard of that game either, and it's pretty cool. I haven't dove deep into it. I actually got a. What was funny is after I got that game, I actually found somebody on one of the Facebook groups selling the box and instruction book for it. I got it and two other boxes for like $20.
Sure.
So I was like, to me it's an oddball game. Apparently it's not too oddball because I found another copy of it a couple weeks ago. It seems like it's usually the way it is I find a copy of some game I've never seen before, and then I'll find 3 different copies of it later down the road. But yeah, I mean it's a different game. It's a role playing game. That's about all I know. I've only played it maybe 5 minutes. I cleaned it, made sure it worked, made sure the battery worked, and that was about it. So.
Yeah, I've seen some reviews on it, and I remember screenshots of Nintendo Power. And what little I've played, it's all right, but I don't know if it's the type of game I can get into because it's almost like an action adventure RPG hybrid.
Yeah.
Like you have your turn-based RPGs, but then it's got real-time stuff. It's weird.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of weird, but it's very different for the time. But it's one of those games. I'm like, I'll put it on the shelf. I need to make more room on the shelf. That. I need to buy a whole nother shelf, but
I hear that. Things collectors say.
Yeah, I actually, I never would have thought, I have more room and anything in this basement, and it's like, I need more shelves. I gotta have.
Yeah, I need more room and more shelves.
Yeah, so get a basement. It's great.
Oh God, I want a basement, dude. That's my one big must-have for a house.
The trouble is then you have so much space, and then you realize how much stuff you really either A, you don't realize how much stuff you don't have, or B, you put all your boxes down here when you're moving in, and you realize, oh my gosh, we got a ton of crap that we need to go through. And that's the way we are. We have a ton of crap we really need to go through. It's ridiculous. Sure. But, we've only been in here almost 2 years and still haven't got everything unpacked.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah, no big deal.
I mean, you've barely gotten a chance to relax at all.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I work hard, so I don't, I don't have time just to unpack boxes all day. But no, there will be a nice big yard sale this summer. That's the plan. All right. Well, let's go ahead. I put a couple of news bits in here just because there was some cool retro news that came out of CES a couple week or two ago. I guess it was last week. Retrobit. Are you familiar with that company? I'm sure you've seen their controllers.
I've seen some of the stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they had a whole lot of stuff on display at CES this year. The system-wise, they had a Super Retro Trio Plus. What that is it's an $80 unit that plays NES, Super NES, and Genesis games. It has HDMI and does 720 output on it. Pretty cool and pretty inexpensive for somebody who, doesn't necessarily care about having original consoles or, going through the hassle of getting one modded or something like that. And for $80, it's a pretty cheap in system, I think. I don't know how good of a picture it has on it or display or anything.
See, I think that would be the big factor. Is because you see these kind of consoles come out a lot these days. It's kind of a popular thing to do, and a lot of people do them. And it's like some of them are really good quality, and some of them are kind of it's a little bit of a crapshoot. So
yeah.
For $80, if the quality is good, especially considering it plays, what is it, NES, SNES, and Genesis games.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So the fact that you're getting 3 consoles in one and in HD for $80, if it doesn't look bad, then that's pretty good value.
Yeah, and lag, that's another thing. A lot of it has to deal with what kind of lag it has and everything like that. It does have a switch on the back bottom of it, so it will allow you to play NTSC and PAL games, which is kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. It's always a plus.
Yeah, that's definitely always a plus. They also had the Go Retro Portable. What it is pretty much a Game Boy style handheld that's preloaded with 300 games. Apparently a lot of the games are going to be from Capcom, Data East, stuff like that. Apparently they are still finalizing what games will be on it. It charges through a micro USB and it'll last for about 2 hours. There'll be 2 color screens. Or 2 color schemes, sorry, and it'll only cost $35.
Which isn't bad, but it really depends on what titles are available on it and the quality,
Yeah.
And it looks like from the picture that they showed, it looks like it's going to be NES and Famicom games.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you're going to stray from that, but
no. But if you those are kind of the new. I don't want to say the new hotness. Those are kind of the new popular things. Is these little, I don't know how hot they are, but these little portable controllers or handheld game systems and stuff. And $35 is a really good price point.
Sure.
One thing that Retrobit brought out last year was some collections on carts. I think they did the Joe and Mac collection, and I think there was another one. I don't remember what the other one was. But they're doing...
I think it was another arcade collection
of Data East games or something.
Right.
I can't remember what it was off the top of my head. But this year they're going to bring out the Super R-Type and Super R-Type 3 and the Super... they're calling it R-Type Returns. It's going to be
sexy.
It does. It's going to be on a Super NES cart. You can get the regular edition for $40, or you can get the collector's edition for $60. Come in a collector's box with pins and stickers. It actually just went up for pre-order this afternoon. It is still available for pre-order. Last I checked, I was going to pull it up here real quick and see, and I was slow on the draw.
Looks like it comes with stickers and maybe pins. I think those are R-type pins. I see
some kind of pins there. Let me pull up Retrobit and see.
That cart is really nice as well. It's like a Super Famicom cart with slanted lines on the side. That it's a black cart with kind of a reddish pink divots. It looks really, really sharp.
Yeah, it looks like it comes with like a letter or certificate of authenticity. The box, there's a full color manual, and I can't tell what that is because the picture they put on Twitter is extremely fuzzy. And the other one that they have coming out is Holy Diver for the NES.
Now this is cool. I like this one. I've actually considered either getting a reproduction cartridge of the game or getting the Famicom version of the game, which is
Yeah.
actually pretty expensive, I might add.
Yeah, well, this is apparently just up for pre-order as well. Let's
Hmm.
see. It's not in the show notes here. Let me pull it up here real quick. Um, there we go. It's $59.99 for the collector's edition set. It comes with the Holy Diver game cartridge, full color manual, numbered certificate card, one-time run on the. It's a one-time run. 1,000 units of the collector's edition will be made. They'll have a special color cartridge. Comes with a couple pins,
Hmm.
couple lithographs, collector's embossed box. And it looks like it'll ship in April, early May, and $60 is not bad.
No, it's
Um,
not. And especially considering that a good quality reproduction cartridge will cost you about 40 just for the cart.
hmm
From a lot
And
of
I don't
people.
have. I was trying to see what just the plain if they were releasing just a standalone cart of that one without all the collector stuff. I'm sure they are, but it's not on the Retrobit
Sure.
website. So,
Yeah.
um,
That special edition is nice though.
yeah, it really is. It's really cool. Oh yeah, they are. Standard edition's $35. Sorry.
Oh well, there you go. See, then that's again about the price of a good quality repro.
Yeah, and as much as I'd like to have the collector's edition, and if I couldn't get the collector's edition, I'd be totally happy with the regular edition. And really the big news, the hot news that seemed to be really popular online was Retrobit has an agreement with Sega to produce Sega controllers and other
Hmm.
accessories. So they are going to have Bluetooth wireless Genesis, Saturn, and Dreamcast controllers, as well as adapters for the retro system, so you can use the Bluetooth controllers on those systems. They're going to bring out new wired controllers for the Saturn and the Dreamcast, and it looks like they're using the original molds that Sega
Yeah,
used. So
they
they're going
they
to
look
be,
pretty similar. I mean,
yeah, they're going to be a 1-to-1, I would guess, as far as
mhm.
Now I don't know about the quality, but
Right. The different. It'll probably be varying materials to some degree.
yeah, and I can't imagine it being too far off of
Sure.
what,
Sure. Yeah.
especially if they're using the same molds. And Retrobit seems to be pretty good about. A lot of people like their controllers. I see a lot of reviews for their NES controllers
Mhm.
and things like that. This is the part that I'm most excited about because I've always wanted. I have a wireless 8-bit do or 8-bit DO, however you say them, controllers for the NES and Super NES, and I can use those
Mhm.
on PC or my phone, or I have the little adapter. I can use them on the NES Classic and the Super NES Classic, which is handy. But I really like having wireless controllers, good quality wireless controllers, that work. I have the old school wireless controller for the Genesis, and it works real well, but it's
Right.
IR, so you have to have it directly
Yeah.
at the screen. So
If anyone walks in front of you, well, that's just too bad.
well, and sometimes I'll be playing, and all of a sudden I'll tip my hand down, and it'll be
Right.
whoops, I'm out of the way. So I'm really excited. There's no price. They didn't put a price point on anything.
Mhm.
I'm going to
I would
guess.
imagine it wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, I'm going to guess they're going to try to keep it competitive with 8-bit do, and I think those controllers run about $40, and the adapters
Right.
run about 20. So I'm hoping $60 for a set. That would be really cool.
I'd imagine that's probably about what you're going to see.
Yeah, if that's the case, then for the next 3 months, Dreamcast first. I gotta have a Dreamcast controller. Yeah, there was a guy on eBay who was making homemade Bluetooth controllers for the Dreamcast out of Greece, and they were really, really good, but they were really, really expensive. I think they were
Hmm.
$120, $130, something like that.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I mean they were good quality, but man, they were so expensive. I wasn't going to pay that kind of cash to get it. And
Yeah,
I'm
I don't
glad
blame you.
I'm glad I didn't, since now we've got this.
But officially licensed ones at
Yeah,
that.
and they're bringing out not only is it controllers, but they're bringing out S video cables. They're bringing out power adapters or power plugs. They're bringing out. I saw VGA boxes for the Dreamcast, which is really good. That will drive down the VGA price points. On
Hmm.
eBay you can't find usually ones under $50, $60. So, and if you're wanting to hook a Dreamcast up to a new TV, VGA is the way to go. You get a VGA to HDMI adapter. But yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of stuff coming from Retrobit. If they could promise, all this, or they can have all this stuff out this year like they're promising, it's going to be a good year for for those kind of things. As long as they get me my 3 controllers, that's all I care about. I don't care about anything else.
John's excited.
I am excited. I am so excited to have Bluetooth controllers for my Dreamcast because I have the extension cable, and I just don't like to have all those cables strung across the Dreamcast.
No, I understand.
Floor, but one other little bit of news: Hyperkin at CES had a Game Boy. They're calling it the. What are they calling it here? Let me open up the. They're calling it the Ultra Game Boy.
Ultra, yeah.
It's still in development. What's cool is it'll play original Game Boy and Game Boy Color games. It doesn't do
Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, Game Boy Advance. It has a backlit LCD. And it has the RGB spectrum on it, so it'll do bright, crisp colors. If this comes out, I'll kind of be shocked. I have a feeling Nintendo is going to put their foot down because
it looks exactly like a Game Boy Pocket. They use like a verbatim 1-to-1 mold for it. I think, even if some of the patents for that old hardware to read the games has ran out, as far as design, Nintendo's always and really they like their iconic design. They hold on to it, and I think they're going to have a problem with this.
Yeah, I think they are too. That's why they didn't have price point, they didn't have release date, they didn't have anything. It looks real nice though. I mean, it looks like a silver Game Boy Pocket. I mean, but even the dials and the volume is all in the exact same place. I mean, it's literally. If you take a look at it online, it literally looks exactly like it.
It looks like it's got a volume and like probably a brightness dial.
Yeah, and that's cool. I mean, I hope they can bring it out because I know a lot of people like those. A lot of people like the backlit. The mods are easy to do, like on the Game Boy Advance. It's an easy mod to do, but it's not so easy on the Game Boy or the Pockets or anything like that. So
because I think most of the mods you see on that will be front lit because the backlight is a lot harder to do for the OG Game Boy.
Yeah, there's just not a lot of room in there, so most of those are a little thicker. I did the mod. I did a mod myself on my GBA, and I love it. I love the backlit screen on GBA. It is so pretty. But this is pretty cool. Like I said, I hope they get to do it. But I have a feeling if I've heard 2 different rumors about the next classic console that Nintendo puts out. I've heard rumors it's going to be an N64. I've heard rumors that they're going to go in order, and it's going to be a Game Boy.
So if that's the case, then they're going to have a big stomping foot on this one.
Yeah. So who knows? It could go either way, but I have a feeling that with that 1-to-1 look, that Nintendo is not going to go for that. I'll be real surprised if they do. So,
right.
But that's all the little news tidbits I got. We don't always have a lot of retro news, but CES is usually when a lot of the retro these companies go and show their retro stuff. So Retrobit with what they have is really really cool. Hopefully they make some good stuff. Fingers crossed. So what we thought we would do this week for just the main part of the show, just real quick, is just talk about some underrated games for systems. And this week we thought we'd hit on the Super NES. Not really
Lots of good stuff on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, not a lot of, not for any particular reason. Just that was just the one we kind of picked. We could have went anyway, but with any system. But I'm going to be honest. The Super Nintendo was a system that I did not own till 1997, 98. And I don't think I bought my first game for the Super Nintendo until probably 2001 or 2002.
Wow.
I was a Genesis man when they were out, and most of my friends had Genesis. Not very many of them had Super Nintendos. So it was a game that I just didn't play a lot. And I actually bumped into one at the local Walmart here when they opened, and I got a mini or a junior, whatever they call them.
Classic.
The classic, yeah. The smaller version of the Super NES. I think I got one for, I think it was $30. I still got the box in there with the price tag on it.
Okay, yeah, I thought you meant the plug and play. Yeah,
No. I meant the
Yeah.
actual. Yeah, I mean, this was like 1997, 98.
Gotcha.
Walking through the
Okay.
electronics department, they actually had one on clearance for some reason. And they even had controllers in the box. And I didn't buy the controllers. I just bought the system, and I really wished I'd bought some of those controllers.
Sure.
Because I think they were like $10.
Well, because the N64 was out at that point, I think, wasn't it? I
Yeah.
mean, so I remember going to Kmart and seeing brand new copies of Super Metroid sealed for like $12 on
Yeah.
closeout, and not thinking anything of it. And
Yeah.
looking back now, it's like I should have stocked up.
I know. I was the same way. Well, and I've told the story on here before, going into stores and seeing sealed copies of NES games in
Yeah.
the late 90s and never batted an eye at them, and they were $20 a piece, and I just went, "Pfft," and went on with it. But yeah, that was my first experience with it, and I didn't even own a Super NES game. I think I bought Mario World off of eBay, played it, and then went, "Yep, it works. It's great." Put it back in the box, and then I never pulled it out again until
It's a shame, man.
when my buddy gave me a bunch of different games, and there was a lot of Super NES games in there, and that's when I finally started playing it. Yeah, I mean, it's a great system, and there's so many games for it.
There's a lot of good ones.
Yeah, and a
I
lot of
think
good
as
ones that
far as-
nobody's ever heard of. So
Right. I think as far as console libraries go, I think Super Nintendo has one of the highest ratios of good games to bad games.
yeah, I think so too. There was a lot of crap on the Genesis. I mean, there was
And the NES
yeah,
and
the
the
NES.
64.
There was a lot of good games, but there was the ratio to good to bad was I think definitely you're right. It was definitely better on the
Right.
Super NES. I think so. So your list. Hit me up with it. You go first. What do you got? Because you'll have probably a lot more information on some of these games than I.
Well, I'll give a basic synopsis of the game style and whatnot. But okay, so the first one, Sky Blazer. That's one I never heard of until I was looking up games in like the $30 range for the Super Nintendo that I might not have heard of.
Okay.
And I stumbled across this one. It's a pretty colorful platformer. It's a platformer at its core, but it also has scrolling shooter style stages horizontally, and there's even a couple Mode 7 third person perspective stages that are like bonus rounds when you're traveling between areas that you fly through rings to get power ups and stuff.
Okay.
And on top of that, they throw in like a overworld map, kind of like Mario World or something. It's pretty fun. At times, it feels badly programmed because there's some stuff about it. If you know anything about how video games are supposed to work, you're like, well, that doesn't seem quite right. But it's actually a pretty fun game. I bought it, I tried it, and I played it and played it and played it, and I really enjoyed it. So that's one.
Cool.
Sky Blazer.
Never heard
Yeah.
of that one.
Yeah, it's pretty decent. All right, I'm gonna do these in a reverse order
Okay.
because I have a lot more to say about the middle one. So Goof Troop is a really good Capcom Disney game. I think Capcom really put their name on the map as far as with Disney games in the NES. Because they had so many good NES games. And I think that once the Super NES hit, like halfway through that generation, you stopped seeing all these great Capcom Disney games.
Yeah.
And I think Goof Troop is definitely one of the last good ones. It's kind of top-down style almost. You got puzzles and stuff. You can play it one player or two. You pick up items to use. You can only hold 2 items at a time. So there's like a inventory management at play there, so you can have, say, a plank that you can carry to put down to get across to another area, or a hook shot that will let you shoot across and it'll act like a platform to get across because it'll be like a rope you can walk on and things like that.
Yeah.
And like I said, it is 2 players multiplayer, simultaneous, so it's one I've had a lot of fun with, and it's a lot of fun for one person, but especially fun for 2 players. Get a buddy, it's a lot of fun. Goof Troop.
Yeah. Those games are always great. I love the Disney games on the NES and the Super NES. And the Genesis, too. Yeah. The Genesis had some pretty cool ones. Quackshot and...
Yeah, Quackshot's a good one. But Capcom didn't make any of the ones.
No. And that's... Well, I'll get into that. That was one of my games is kind of like that. It was like I liked it better on the Super Nintendo than the Genesis, and it was because it was 2 different people that made it, even though it was the same title again.
Gotcha. All right. Well, the last one I have, I only have three this time around, is a game called Dragon View. Now, there's actually a story behind this, but if anyone's played the Super Nintendo game Draken, it is not a good game. It feels like an early PC game with the overworld because it's very
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to explain it. It was mode 7, but it was just very plain, very old computer style, like you'd see in an old. Like, have you ever played Betrayal at Krondor or any of those old PC games, adventure games, where the world
Um,
map is very flat,
I
but it's a
don't.
perspective
I
view?
don't think so, but the just by looking at the pictures, it reminds me of a lot of the EA games that came out on the Genesis that were
Sure.
these weird ports of like PC games or whatever. But
Mhm.
I know what I get what you're saying or what you're talking about with it.
Right. So it was this weird RPG game where you control the whole party at the same time. So you get into an encounter, and then it turns into like your four party members just kind of walking around the screen doing whatever they're doing, and you can like switch between them with L and R and just tell them commands and stuff. It's really clunky.
Yeah.
It's not good. I never enjoyed it. It's dirt cheap. You can buy a copy for like $3. Not a good game. Draken. So when I was in my emulation years, when I just seen what was out there when I
Yeah.
was, I don't know, teenager, early young adult, whatever, I found a game called Draken 2, and I was like, oh man, there was a sequel that was only in like, I assumed it was only other places of the world like Japan or in PAL territories or whatever, and it was a completely different kind of game. It still had the type of overworld that looked that way, but it was a little bit more refined.
Mm-hmm.
But when you actually got into the areas, it was like a hack and slash, almost platform action beat 'em up sort of deal where you're running around hitting things with your sword and jumping over attacks and stuff. But it was still an RPG. You still leveled up. You still got money. You could see different NPCs to buy different equipment and quest items and stuff like that. And it was
Yeah.
just so much fun. And I remember I was telling my buddy about it because I was scrolling through something on the internet as an adult, like 2 years ago or so, and I saw this game called Dragon View, and I was like, huh, I wonder what that is. And I looked at the screenshots, and I'm like, oh my god, it's Dragon 2. It came out here, and I was so jazzed on it. And I remember we went to lunch. I think we ate at Arby's that day, and I was like, oh my god, so I found this thing, whatever. And I was just really excited. And it was last winter, so it was right around Christmas, right around
Yeah.
my birthday. And so, like, the next day I came into work, and it was freaking sitting on my desk. The game was sitting on my desk. Like he had just happened to go to one of the local video game stores afterwards
Yeah.
and after work and asked about it. And he was like, "Oh yeah, that's a weird one, but we actually have a copy of that in stock." So he got it for me for my birthday. It was really awesome.
That's
But
cool.
yeah, it's a super fun game. It's one that nobody's heard of. It's about $40 or so for the cart, but I strongly suggest it if you want a good game that's like part RPG, but it's different and still feels kind of, you know, with those elements, but more fast paced in the action setting.
Yeah.
Definitely check it out.
Cool.
It's one of those that again nobody talks
Yeah,
about, but it's fantastic.
and I had never heard of it. And like I said, once again, if it's not a Super FX chip card, I can play it on my EverDrive and try it out. And
Yeah, I don't believe it is. I think it should be good to go.
yeah, I'll try it out, and that's what I find myself doing a lot with the EverDrives. Is yes, I have every game from Japan, Europe, and on a cart, but if it's one that I play and I like, it's like, okay, I add this to the list of ones I need to track down and buy. I've gotten to the point where I'm not going to even attempt to try to collect every game out there. But
Sure.
if it's one that I really, really, really want and I really like, I'll definitely track it down. So, and every once in a while I'll get one. But the EverDrive really helps out with that. Plus, I like the import thing of it. That game sounds awesome though. It sounds really fun.
It's really good. You should check it out yourself.
Yeah, I'll have to. My three, and I threw a fourth in there just because it's kind of. I'll save it for last because it's my three games have a theme here almost. Well, four of the three of the four games have a theme, but
Four of the three.
four of the three of the four, six of one, half dozen of another. The first one I have is Batman Returns. Now I know a lot of people don't like movie tie-in games, and that's really why I put that one on here. I'm a huge beat 'em up fan. Streets of Rage is one of my favorite games. I love the Streets of Rage series. I love Death and Return of Superman. I think that's a great game too.
I still need to check that one out.
Oh, it's so good. But Batman Returns on the Super NES is actually a beat 'em up, where on the Genesis It was published and made by Sega, and it was a platforming game. It wasn't a beat 'em up, so it was a totally different game. And a lot of the games on the Super NES and the Genesis were like that. What game am I thinking of? Adventures of Batman and Robin. Those were two different kinds of games. Yep. Super NES, it was a beat 'em up, platformer, action adventure on the Genesis and stuff like that. So I've went through and I've collected both of them. But Batman Returns is actually really, really cool. It's just a straightforward beat 'em up. You go from left to right, and you're fighting the Penguin's bad guys in it, and it ties in with the movie and everything like that, but it's more of a beat 'em up game. It's a really cool game. If you like beat 'em ups, pick that one up. Jim Lee's Wildcats, that's another one. Most people have it as a mediocre beat 'em up. I actually like it a little bit better. The sprites are really big. It's very colorful. It's based on the comic book. There was actually supposed to be an animated TV series, or maybe there was for a little while.
There was. I think there was. Or maybe I'm thinking of something else. I don't know.
I don't know. I know there was supposed to be, but I don't know if it ever actually came out, or maybe it was only out for a couple episodes or something like that. But it all kind of ties in with that. What's cool about it? What sucks about it is it's not a 2-player beat 'em up. But what's cool about it is you have different characters. I think there's 3 or 4 different characters you choose from. Each of them are very different. And by the time you get to the end of the game, there's a stage. Some of the stages you can crawl on the walls, climb up here, go over, and come down. There's almost a platforming feature where you have to jump from platform to platform on the last level. So it's not just your straight up beat 'em up game, but it's definitely a fun one. And I know a lot of people just have it as an average game. I think it's an above average beat 'em up game. It's not
I haven't played that one.
It's not your Final Fight or Streets of Rage, but it's not as bad as. I'm trying to think of a bad beat 'em up. It's hard for me to. I like beat 'em up, so it's not like Batman Forever or something like that. But I think Batman Forever is more of a fighting game. But still, it's not terrible, and it's not like I read the comic books. I have the comic books, and that's fine, but you don't have to know anything about the comic books to even get into the game. But if you like beat 'em ups, check it out. It's definitely a cool game. The other one is Felix. I know a lot of people have this one. This is really not. I don't know if it'd be such of a hidden gem. I think it is, because I remember when it came out, and I remember seeing it in the case and going, "Why is there an old man with a banjo and a dog on the front?" Well, I'm not even touching that game. What is that game even about? And then I realized it's a shoot 'em up.
But who the hell would have known that?
Well, yeah.
Know what's the worst part about it? If you look up the Japanese artwork for it, it's like way cooler. It actually fits. It looks like okay, this is a shooter.
Yeah, it's like, okay, that makes sense. But it was just really badly. Even the advertisements I got the old Game Pros from those years, and they have full page ads with the cover of that game the cover of the game on there, and I'm like, dudes, this is not. This is not what the game's about.
And it's funny because the dude on the cover with the banjo, he looks completely and utterly bewildered. Like, damn well he has no idea what a video. He has no idea why these people are taking his picture right now.
Yeah, just sit here and look good. Okay, just play your banjo. But yeah, I mean,
what do you want me to play?
And there was even wasn't there a Game Boy Advance release of this game? Didn't they put that on Game Boy Advance at one point?
I don't recall. It doesn't sound familiar, but I'm not sure.
I wanna say that they did, but I can't remember. I'd have to look it up. But it's a shooter. It's a shooter that a lot of people overlook. Because you have all these different weapons, and it takes place in the future, like 2279 or something. It takes place way out in the future. But you got all these alien planets and all these alien things. It's your straight up regular shooter, but it's to me it was overlooked because people just looked at that cover here in America and went,
"Oh yeah, absolutely.
Stupidest game. What's this game have to do with anything?"
Exactly. It was like the Wii U of the SNES.
Yeah, exactly.
What is this?
Yeah, what is this? That's a good analogy right there. And the other game I'm going to throw on was an unreleased game called The Shadow. It's a beat 'em up, and if you ever you can get a repo of it, or you can get a ROM and play it on your favorite emulator or EverDrive or anything like that. What's really cool about it is it follows the movie where you're the Shadow, and it's completely finished. I don't know why they never released it exactly. It's pretty much done, but you have different powers that you could get. That you had in the movie. You could control a guy for so long. You have the power to zip around real fast in a tornado like he did in the movie and the comic books and stuff like that. And it's to me, it's a really cool beat 'em up game because it's kind of set in the 40s, mid 40s, early 50s, just like the movie was. And
Right.
you got the hat and and you're fighting the Chinese guys and all that. And I loved the Shadow, but I love the Shadow game too. It's a really cool game that not a lot of people know about because, well, technically it never came out. But
Do you think it was a licensing issue?
I don't know. I never really looked up why. Let me look here. The Shadow Super NES. I never really found out why it was. It was never brought out. Streets of Rage, similar style, blah, 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 blah. Ocean Software. It was supposed to come out the same time as the movie was. It's 8 levels long. I have beat it. If you can't beat it, there's actually a hack out there that makes you invincible. Game was set to release in '94. That's all it says. It doesn't really say why it wasn't ever released. But I know a lot of people put it on... have it on emulators and stuff like that. There are ways to play it, and you used to be able to buy repro copies of it, but with it being I don't think it's really that popular of a game that it's a sought after repo. But if I could get a repro copy of it, I would. So, but that's 6, 7 nice little Super NES games if if you're new to NES or you're looking to build a collection. Especially that Dragon View sounds really cool.
Yeah, man. Highly recommended by D-Pad.
Well, one thing that I kind of forgot to mention in the pickups is I got a couple of books in for review, and since we're talking about Super NES, this is one of them that I got is I don't know if I'm holding it on the screen here, is the Super Famicom Super NES visual book by Bitmap Books. This will be out in February. February 1st is when this comes out. They sent me an advance copy. This book is awesome. I have the NES version of this too. This is a really good book with a lot of cool pictures. There's reviews of games, lots of cool pixel artwork from different games. They do like little snippet reviews of some of the games. This one they actually do. They do a little bit more in it. They have they go into some of the Japanese only releases, like Kirby's Dream Land 3, Rocket Man, Fire Emblem. Some of the games that never came out over here, but there's fan translations. Star Fox 2.
Kirby's Dream Land 3 came out here.
Oh, did it? Okay.
That's on the Super Nintendo.
I was flipping through here, and
it's rare and expensive, but
yeah. But they cover different companies, Acclaim, and do some interviews with some of the creators and the producers of the Super NES back then. So I'll have a review up on the site of that on the 1st. I can't put it up to the 1st because it's street dated, but if you're a backer, if you back this on Kickstarter, you should be getting your Kickstarter and it should be getting it in the mail any day if you haven't already. And the other book that I got was by the guys by Geeksline that did the N64 anthology. They did the PlayStation anthology.
That's slick looking.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. It's a lot bigger than the N64 one was, and it goes into a lot more detail.
I mean, you got to think the PlayStation library was like massive compared to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
286 or something like that.
Something like that. You know what? I'd have to look here. There's this is the collector's edition. So in the back of it, there's actually a checklist for every PlayStation 1 game, whether it be a Japanese release, American, or PAL. And there you go. That's how thick. That's how thick it is. That's the list right there.
Yeah, it's quite a vast library.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
it's
stuff on PS1.
huge.
But there's also a lot of trash on PS1.
Yeah, there really is. What's cool about this one is it goes through and it'll show you. It has like a lot of interviews with it. It's got like the breakdown of their apparel, different peripherals like the LCD screen. They have interviews with a lot of the insiders. They actually break the system down. There is a huge section of interviews. It's a lot more book than it actually covers the years of the PlayStation, even into the PlayStation 2, because they were still working side by side there for a little while.
Right.
But this book is worth it. This one is, you can actually get this one on Amazon right now. It's $34, $35.
That doesn't sound bad for what all you get. If you're...
No, I mean this thing is 400 and some pages. Oh, why can't I open up the last page? 457 pages. So it's it's
nice.
Good. The bitmap books one, the Super NES one, is a little more expensive. It's 30 euros or 30 pounds. So there's a little difference in price with it when you
that'd be
convert
about
it to
$42 or $43 here.
$42, $43. Like I'm not sure how much shipping is because it's got to come from the UK. But I highly, highly, highly recommend both of these books. One thing that I'll show you that's kind of cool. This one has the coolest bookmark.
That's neat.
So I can peg a bunch of pages in it. It's got like, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. It's got 4 different bookmarks in one. So, but if you were a backer, they sent you like there was like a little thing that came in it that you could hold over the pictures and it would make them look, give them scan lines. Stuff like that. This is a very, very cool Kickstarter. And the guys that, I will drop a little hint about the guys that did the PlayStation anthology. Their next one, they tried to do a Neo Geo anthology, but they did not get Sync's approval for it. So it got the Kickstarter took down really quick. And then Bitmap put out their Sync book, which I got a review copy of that too, and the review's up on the site. Their next one is the GameCube anthology. And I think the Kickstarter just ended. If it didn't just end, it's almost ending. And that one will be their next one that'll be out.
That'll be cool.
I don't remember when the release date, the planned publish date of that is.
Off-topic side note, I don't know if I've ever heard anybody say Sync.
Sync? Really?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. S&K. Yeah, I always called it.
I've always called it and always heard it.
We called it, back in the day when we really didn't, there wasn't commercials, there wasn't anything, we always called it Sync. That's what we always called it, Sync, S-N-K, Sync. So sometimes I still say, instead of S&K, I still say Sync every once in a while. I catch myself doing it.
It's like a little slice of your own personal Americana.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I like to do is make up names for things. So one last topic I wanted to touch on because I wanted to get Danny's opinion of it, even though it's not really retro. But Nintendo had their little snippet this morning or Monday about their new game series coming out for the Switch called Logo. Is that what they're calling it? LabGo. LabGo. Which is a weird name anyway. Which for those of you,
I'm sure they're trying to say Lab Go, like two separate words, but
for you all who don't keep up with anything, new, you're all, retro. What it is essentially software that comes with cardboard cutouts that you assemble. One set is a robot, so it has like 19 sheets you put together with strings and pulleys, and and play this robot game, which looks a lot like a canceled Wii U game that I can't remember the name of. I'll have to look it up. But anyway, and the second one that's coming out is one with a piano, a house, a fishing rod, and a motorcycle handlebars. And you put your Switch down in it, you put your Joy-Cons in it, and it does different things. Like the piano has this reflective tape on the inside of it that the IR sensor will actually read and tell what keys you're hitting. And you put different cogs down in there that are made out of cardboard with a reflective tape on it that will change the tone of them and everything like that. It seems like a really, really cool idea to me. But I know there was a lot of hate on the internet about it earlier in the week.
There's getting so much hate.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that hate it. There's a lot of people that like it. So I wanted to, we talked about it on the podcast last night, but I wanted to get your opinion on it because of anybody that does anything on the site or podcast, there's only two of us that have kids, and it's you and another guy. So I'm
okay, well, first off, my kid, that stuff wouldn't last 2 minutes. I mean, my kid is not careful with anything. He's 6, but maybe, like an 8-year-old, a 9-year-old. But I think there's a lot of hate that's going on. People are saying, "Oh, this is stupid," and I know, that's kind of how Nintendo does. It's like, hey, here's all the stuff you wanted. Oh my God, Nintendo's back. Nintendo's great again. Yes, here's all the things you wanted. Now we're gonna introduce something weird. That's what they do. They like to build the success and try to innovate off of it. And honestly, even if this tanks and it doesn't sell a single unit, I don't think it's going to cut into their share. I don't think it's going to be – I'm sure that they're on a business level, they're viewing this as a separate venture, even though it has a joint venture being that it's, based off of apps that will be available on the Switch. But I think it's an interesting idea. It's more of a toy line than anything. It's, to me, basically, it's not so much a game that comes with cardboard. To me, and I feel like the way they're trying to present it is it's essentially a cardboard construct kit that has an associated app that you can use to do things. Like I saw that there was one it was like 2 RC cars, and you put like the Joy-Con in it, and you control it like with arrows on the separated screen. And there's, like you said, the fishing rod and the piano, and they had like the motorcycle thing. And I think it's an interesting way of them trying to make gaming more imaginative, because video games is what it is. It's not going away. It's the primary source of entertainment for a lot of kids. And if they can, instead of saying here's everything, and you're just looking, experiencing how we want to tell you, Nintendo's like trying to bring imaginative play into video games. And I think it's an interesting concept. I mean, again, my kid, that's not necessarily a good example because he's not so careful with stuff, but I think that this will definitely sell. It may not sell fantastic, but there's going to be a lot of kids really excited about this, I think.
Well, I'm looking on Amazon bestsellers in video games right now, and it's the top 10, top 12, top 50. I keep going. We'll just go top 10. The top 10 games, Mario Kart 8. They got the PlayStation Store card. The God of War Collector's Edition. Number 7 is the Labo Robot. 6 is Monster Hunter. Then you've got 4, 5, and 4 are PlayStation cards. Number 3 is Evil Within 2. Number 2 is the Xbox Live Gold because they had it on sale. And number 1 is the Labo Variety Pack. That is $70.
Now, see... And what's cool is that Nintendo's gone out and said that, yes, we're selling cardboard, but I believe they're going to have the apps available for digital download.
They are.
Not for free, but, you'll have to pay for the app. But they are offering the templates for the cardboard free of charge on the internet, which I think is a really nice gesture on their part. Hey, we know it is what it is. If you want to buy everything put together, and pop out perforated, so you don't have to cut it, here's everything. But if you can't swing it, but you still want to buy this for your kid, bam, here's everything you need to just print it out and, stencil it on your own cardboard.
Well, and I think one thing a lot of people either forget or fail to even know is Nintendo has been around for 126 years.
Yeah.
And what was their first thing that they did? They made toys and board games, playing cards and stuff like that.
They did the, what is it called? Hinafuna or something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that.
Hinafuna cards.
Yeah. So, I mean, at their heart, they are still a toy company. Just for the past
Absolutely.
40 years, they've been doing video games. But I don't know. I actually read a post on one of the Facebook groups that I'm in that this one guy said it was stupid, and he secretly hoped it failed. I'm like,
If you tell people about it, that's not secretly hoping it
yeah,
fails.
I mean, it's
First
not,
of all,
first of all, it's not
there
secretly
are a
hoping it
huge
failed,
hole in
but
your logic.
that's almost as bad as to me as a gamer going, I don't like Xbox One. The Xbox One X come out. I'm not paying $500 for it. It's stupid. I hope it fails. I
mean,
that's just a bad attitude.
people are
to
going to
have.
buy it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, what do you care what other people like? Oh my god! And it's like that's what I'm saying. That are hating on this. Well, not all of them, because there's no blanket statements. A lot of the people hating on it are people that are going to hate on Nintendo for whatever they put out anyway, because it's Nintendo. So it's like, whatever.
And then there's some, a lot of the YouTube guys have really liked it. There's some YouTube guys that just flat out said, this is just dumb.
Yeah, they poo-pooed it.
Yeah, they poo-pooed it immediately. And it's just like, some of those guys poo-pooed the Switch when they come out. I won't name.
And now they're singing its praise.
Yeah,
I mean, because
I won't name any names, but the guy has the same first name as me. But that's fine. He kind of called me out on Twitter when I replied to one of his posts about how stupid it was, and I was like, I got to disagree with that. I don't think it's going to be blah 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 blah. And then he kind of shot back and well, my kids think it's stupid and they don't like it. I'm like, well, my wife's a third grade teacher and she has a classroom full of 27 kids that absolutely have not stopped talking about it since it came out. So, I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Spinner. I don't get it. Their Amiibo, the Disney Infinity style. I mean, I will say the what is it, the toy to life, whatever they call it, is kind of almost dead. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know why they would dump more money in. I feel like that's kind of on its way out. That was yesterday's news, and they're just trying to explore new ventures and try to think of new innovative ways to play.
Well, and the other thing is everybody's like, why don't they make it out of plastic? Well, if they made it out of plastic, would you buy it? Because that piano is probably going to be $30. That fishing rod's going to be $15 to $20. The house is going to be, you wouldn't buy them. You wouldn't buy them because then you'd have a bunch of plastic crap sitting around, and then we would be back in the days of the Wii when it had Nerf tennis rackets and foamy baseballs and baseball bats and stuff like that nobody wanted, but people bought that crap in droves when it was out. I know because I was working in that industry when it was out. Oh yeah, people still buy Amiibos. I buy the Amiibos I want. But
I mean, I don't think it's as big of a novelty as it was a year or two.
No, and it's not, because you can kind of walk in the stores. We walked in the stores the other day, and I actually stumbled upon first series Amiibos that they've re-released. If it had been 2 years ago, I never would have been able to walk in the store and find a link.
Right.
And I walked in, they had a half dozen of them on the wall.
Sure.
And, I've even seen some on clearance at GameStop. So I don't think Amiibos are as big as they are. I think when they first come out, when they first release them, everybody goes hog wild crazy over them. Some of the ones that are exclusive to stores, like the Bayonetta one and stuff like that.
Right.
You may not get.
I got crazy into them too, but I mean, after a while, it's like, a bunch on my wall. I know you can't see because there's no video.
Yeah, I know the video is totally gone now.
But I mean, I've got quite a few. I had like 39 or so at one point, and I'm just looking at them all. I'm like, they're nice to look at. I want to keep them in the package because I'm a collector. I'm not really going to use them, and it's just taking up too much space. And
exactly.
I sold 13 of them, and I used the money to buy the PVM, the professional video monitor that I now play my games on. And I feel like that was a much better use of the money.
Worthwhile purchase.
Absolutely.
I will preach the praises of the PVM, and every retro gamer should have one.
Absolutely.
But I bought my share of Amiibos, but I only buy Amiibos that I want.
Right.
I don't keep them in the package. I open them up. I put them on display on my rack. I think I've got, hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I've maybe got 13 over there.
Sure.
And I buy the ones I want. I put them on display. I don't use them in game. I actually have something called an Amiibo that I got for review from a Chinese company that I can download any Amiibo I want on a little chip and just.
Oh wow.
But if I really want to use Amiibos in a game, that's what I'm going to do.
Sure. Well, it's just the same thing they did with the Amiibo cards.
Yeah.
Figures were hard to get a hold of.
Yeah. Well,
nobody bitched about them selling cardboard then.
Nope. I've got a bag. These are NFC tags right here. I've got a whole bag of them that I can just flash for whatever I want. So, but it just blows my mind. I think a lot of things, especially when it's on the internet, is now the cool thing is to hate on things.
Well, because you get the most reaction that way. You get the most. It's just like it's the same reason. Only reports like the bad news, people getting killed and bad things happening because it's eye catching. It's what people watch.
Yeah, Rob is a classic example.
Yeah, they could totally put out a special edition if that concept does well. They could totally put out a special edition Rob.
Oh yeah,
and people will buy that shit up.
Yeah, and and a lot of people, the only reason that Rob was ever a thing was they had to have a toy with it to put it on the shelves at Toys R Us. That's the only reason why Rob was ever invented.
Well, also because the stigma of video games at the time after the crash. They had to market it as a home entertainment system and not a video game console.
Yeah, it had to be more of a toy than a
sure.
Thing,
yeah.
But I don't know. I wanted to get your opinion on if you were a hater or you thought it was fine. That was all I was wondering.
I think overall it's a neat idea, and time will tell if well. But I don't think it's going to. I mean, who knows? It could crash and burn, whatever. Yeah. Nobody could buy it. But again, I don't even think if it does that it'll affect anything. They're still going to pump out good first-party titles. They're still getting a lot of third-party support. Yep. I mean, the Switch is doing a really good job right now. So I don't think it'll put a dent into anything. It's just going to be a different venture. That's all. I
totally agree. And look at it this way: if it does fail, buy a box, don't open it, put it away, because in 10 or 15 years we're all going to go, do you remember that stupid cardboard thing that Nintendo did? Yeah, that thing's worth like $200 yet. Yeah, it's like right, yeah. I guarantee it. It would do something like that if it fails.
Oh, yeah.
If they end up printing bazillions of them, then no, it won't be worth anything. But if it crashes and burns, and there's still other ones that they haven't announced when or if they're going to release. Yeah, there was a lot of them in that video.
Yeah, they've shown some other ones that were not included in the 2 sets they announced officially.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think a lot of times with, especially nowadays, and the week that they did it was the week that people, that small YouTubers found out that they were going to be demonetized. Mm-hmm. Because they were not getting the hits. I think a lot of them now are like, well, then I've got to do something controversial on my YouTube channel so I can keep my monetization.
Possibly fair. Yeah, got to get that quota in the next 30 days.
It just blows my mind. So
yeah.
All right. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about real quick, or tell everybody what's going on this week with streams or anything you're doing?
No, not really. Nothing really special. Request stream on Tuesday, but. That's really about it.
Okay.
Same cool business as usual. We're going to try to do more of these in this year, and I'm going to try to do some more YouTube videos as well. Even though there's less of a reason to do so now, but I still want to produce content.
And I've started putting some unboxings on our YouTube channel. I put an unboxing. I put a review. It's kind of an underutilized thing that we don't use much on the site, but now Twitch allows you to upload videos to Twitch, so it's kind of like, well, I could always just...
Yeah, I thought about that too, just putting all my reviews up on Twitch and just having that be my primary site.
Yeah, well, and with subscribers, people that want to subscribe to the channel and help us out, you can... Once you get to a partner level, you can actually set that stuff aside for subscribers and things like that. So
right.
There might be a little bit into that. I'm not so much worried about monetization. I've never monetized our YouTube page. I've never messed with it.
Sure.
Because we just didn't mess with it enough. And now all these small streamers are like, oh, we got to keep our monetization. Go follow this guy and go follow that guy and go follow this guy. And I'm thinking, you know what? If we would have done this at the beginning when you were starting out your small channels and helping other small channels out, y'all get together, but you didn't. You just wanted to promote yourself, and now everybody's starting to lose that monetization, so they're wanting to promote each other.
Sure.
Like, maybe you should have done that beforehand and kind of helped each other out. But, what do I know? I don't know nothing. I'm just a poor boy from West Virginia that doesn't know nothing.
Likes video games.
Yeah, that likes video games. So yeah, we're going to try to do this more on the regular, maybe every other week. I'm wanting to grow the Twitch channel to help out Matt with his streams, and I'm going to try to stream. It's hard for me to get time in to stream because where I work out of town, it's real hard for me to have a steady schedule. But we're pushing to try to get towards partner status so we can create a team of streamers to kind of help everybody grow. So, but unfortunately, you have to be partner status to be able to do that, and it's kind of work. But we're gonna here in a couple months, we're gonna pick a month and say this is the month that we're gonna push for partner status, and we're gonna try to do it. So. But yeah, I mean, if you want to help out us, subscribe to the channel, follow the channel. You can sub to me, you can sub to Danny. The money helps us out, the subs help us out. And if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, you get one for free. Just link your Twitch accounts, and guess what? You got a free $5 sub that you could give your favorite Twitch streamer, whether it be me or Danny or whoever. Help them out. What's that?
I'll take a roast beef with Swiss.
Yeah, there you go. I mean,
that $5 sub.
Yeah, $5 sub. I mean, it's free money that Amazon's giving you. Why not use it? So that's what I tell everybody anyway. So
sure.
But thanks so much for listening, guys. This you can subscribe to this podcast on Podbean or wherever you get your podcasts at, Stitcher Radio, any of your podcatcher apps. You should be able to pick us up. But if you subscribe to us and leave us feedback, that really helps out a lot because it moves us up in the rankings on the site and gets us on their front page and gets us noticed, which would really help. And like I say, I know we've kind of got away from it there, but we're going to be back regularly for the foreseeable future unless something terrible happens. Like
knock on wood.
Knock on wood, like I lose internet or something like that. Which, if that happens, I don't know what I would do. I would probably lose my mind. So, but
you have all those video games. I think it'd be
I'll
a few
be fine.
hours.
Yeah, I'll be fine for a few hours. It's the electricity part that I have to worry about. So.
Yeah.
But you can follow Danny. It's D-Pad Danny on Twitter. It's his his Twitch channel as well. I'm JC Meadows 94. The podcast is Back to Bits. The website is GL_podcast. All that stuff will be in the show notes. But yeah, follow us on Twitter. That'll be the easiest way to get our updates on when we will be going live. I try to at least tweet out a couple hours ahead of time to give people time to know when we will be live recording the show. Because you can hang out here in the chat room like Spinner, like Armageddon, and hang out and talk with us while we record, and share your thoughts immediately on while we're recording. I think that's a cool thing. We don't do a big interactive stream, but just to be able to have a chat room and take feedback and questions immediately is a really cool thing. So, but thanks guys for listening. We appreciate it, and we will catch you all next time.
Have a good one.
All right, cool. I will stop that. Save as. Gee, I just kind of really ticked me off when John Hancock did that. I was like, really?
Yeah.
It's like, it kind of blows my mind. I always thought he was kind of a cool, laid-back guy.